Can't wait to share some great stuff with you. My name is Steve Plummer. I'm a sales language expert, also known as a copywriter. I'm a speaker, a copywriting coach, and I've been writing promotions for some really big names that you guys might know. Harry Dent, Matt and Amanda Clarkson, people like that who are fairly big online, as well as lots of traditional businesses, both big and small, over the last 12 years. So my specialty really is the art of words that sell. And my business partner is Colin Cooper. Now, he's an absolute whiz at, so I guess we're a bit of a dynamic duo in that I've got marketing and words that sell, whereas Colin has got marketing and all of the computer now. So, I mean, he runs several businesses of his own online, et cetera, et cetera. I do kind of joke around a little bit in that he's like the geeky computer guy who's just in the background coding away there, like the character in Harry Potter. We wheel him under the stairs and lock him under there so he can code away, I'm the cool writer guy, he's the geeky computer guy. So you may hear me reference that. Rightio, let's unlock the cage under the stairs and wheel out the geeky computer guy and let him talk for a bit. But really, when he talks, it does pay to listen because he does know his stuff at a very, very deep level and has helped a number of businesses grow to astronomical proportions. So, geeky computer guy Colin, stop your coding for a second. We might get you just to say a few words there.
Thanks, Steve. Look, I think Steve covered most of it. One of the core backgrounds that I do is demographic profiling. So it's getting really understanding who your audience is. And then, as Steve was saying with his marketing message, about getting that message in front of the right people at the right time. And the current platforms of doing that is through social media, etc., which is what we're going to be talking about, some of that today. To give you a bit of a background, some of the funnels that I've created have generated over $100 to $200 million in sales. And as Steve said, we've got our own businesses as well that do this with selling products online. So we're not just teaching you how to do it, we also walk the walk as well. So that's me. I'm going to go back under the stairs now. Thanks, Steve.
All right, wheel him back in under. Let's lock him away there. He can get away and just help make himself happy by coding away there.
Guys, well, I guess from our perspective, we like, people don't see our type of business as a business, and I think the people who run it as a hobby get hobby results, and the ones that run it get business results. Yeah. And I know Colin's been in MLM before, and he probably agrees.
100%, yeah.
So sales is like the lifeblood of the business. So that's why I guess it's important to know how to do ads. Like, if you can't promote yourself and you can't promote your product and put it in a tasteful way in there in the marketplace, then you kind of, I don't know what you can use apart from the system, but you're still going to struggle to get people into it, right? So it's a big attraction game, and I think that's how a lot of your stuff has to read as well. So we're so glad to have you guys on the call and have some experts for the team. We want to do more of this type of stuff as well, from all different angles to upskill them in different areas as well. But I guess with sales writing, Steve, and copywriting, why do you think, personally I've found I can read some people's stuff and it's really pleasing and really easy to read and really captivating and really, what's the best way to put it? Really attractive. And I read some people's stuff in our team and not in our team for both. And you go, ooh, that's a bit, it kind of gives you a little bit of a cringe and go, oh, that's, I don't know, that just wouldn't attract me to either the product or the opportunity or whatever they're talking about. Why do you think people struggle with it?
Yeah, it's a really good point you make there, Jared. One of my favourite copywriters is and marketers is a guy by the name of Dan Kennedy. He lives in Ohio, in Cleveland. And he has this saying that bad copy gives people, and it's just what you said, Jared, a vaguely, unconsciously uncomfortable feeling. They won't know why, but they'll click away or they'll stop reading ASAP. And I mean, it's a great phrase. You might want to write that down: vaguely, unconsciously uncomfortable. And if you don't do your job well with the words that you use, that's what happens, and it's over. There's probably two things I can say about that. Is that number one, we aren't taught to write to sell. At school, we're taught to write, to analyze a poem, to convey information, or to write a story, once upon a time, the end kind of thing. We're not taught to write to sell. Now, the reason I know that so well is that I was a high school teacher, head of department and deputy principal for 19 years before I went on this journey into marketing and copywriting. And you're not taught to write to sell. I had to learn a whole new set of skills when I came out. And I'll give you two examples of that. A friend of mine who I taught how to write copy probably 3 or 4 years ago now. He's taken those skills and through his network marketing business has banked, I think, $1 million in the last 9 months, using the system in his particular product. And so he had, he's a terrible speller. He still is a pretty ordinary speller. But isn't that interesting? He's a crap speller. He would probably fail a lot of English, but he's used words that sell to make himself and his partner and his family a lot of money. I mean, it's such a cool story. So the key thing is it's a learned skill. When you know the principles to follow, it really is a learned skill. And some people, when I tell that kind of story, some people say, well, it's okay for you because you were good at English at school. I mean, I've also been a freelance journalist, so I've had stuff published and so forth. So language and stuff comes naturally and easily to me. However, I'll tell you a little story. When my very first mentor in copywriting, he got me to critique and mark, I guess, some of his work. And I mean, geez, I was so good. I was an English teacher. I went and corrected all the grammar and the spelling and the punctuation and a whole lot of things. And I sent it back to him, thinking, well, geez, mate, that's pretty shit English. I mean, it's terrible. And he very gently let me down. He said, thanks for that. It was a bit like the chocolate coated turd, it looks all nice on the outside, then you bite into it and it's awful. He said, thanks for that, mate. However, we don't do a lot of those things in copy. And I had everything done perfectly and all the great English stuff. But the English stuff does not make good sales copy. In fact, you can chuck out about 80% of what you learned at school when you're writing sales copy. The key thing that you've got to understand is that any sort of sales conversation, whether it's verbally face-to-face like this or in writing, it's a one-to-one conversation. And I'll use that word really, really carefully, conversation. We're not here to write the perfect English essay. We're not here to analyse poetry. We're here to sell stuff. And that takes a certain learned skill set. And certainly I can teach you a lot of those building blocks to make that happen, but it is absolutely a learned skill. We take what we learned at school and try and then translate that into selling, and it's almost totally useless for that very reason.
It's interesting. So with I guess, like, how do you think it's changed since I guess that time that you were just referring to, and what do people need to be aware of to be able to make the sales or get people attracted into following their story?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Here's the thing. I was reading something the other day that in I just saw this, right? I didn't experience it myself, but in 1954, the biggest category in mail order was pornography. And the highest number of searches online today is, have a guess what? Pornography. Right. So what that means is not that there's a whole lot of dirty people around the world, but I mean, the reality is human nature has not changed. And I'm a human being I have my needs, my desires, my wants, my fears, my frustrations, the things that I love to do, the things that I hate to do, all of those sorts of things. And human nature over time has not changed. The media might have changed, but human nature has not changed. And so we always have to remember that no matter what media it is, we are writing to one person and trying to connect to and influence a person, one person at a time. And so whenever I teach people copywriting, I teach them the principles that you can then apply to different media. Because, when you went into business, Jared, did you use Facebook much?
I think I was just about to delete it when I found it, and I was like, I'll keep it for business.
Yeah, so you probably use email, print ads, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Now Facebook's all the rage, and people come and say, "Oh, look, teach me how to do Facebook. Teach me how to do Facebook, et cetera." Well, Facebook is only a media. There are lots of other media around, and media comes and goes. And I guess Colin will talk about this a little bit later in terms of, even if we can teach you how to write to a certain formula for Facebook, which is right and proper, but as soon as they change the algorithm, a lot of that stuff can change. So what you need to do is learn the principles of good copy so that you can apply them to any media, because in 3 years' time, there might be a whole new media that isn't even invented now. They might outlaw Facebook for whatever reason, but you've got to have those skills so that you can sell to one person at a time. I think too, I can't emphasize that enough. It's always a one-on-one conversation. I'm selling to you in a conversation. The other key thing, I think, and this is perhaps because of social media, this is perhaps a little bit more prevalent today, is authenticity in your writing. People, I don't want to get all woo-woo on you, but words do have vibrations, and it gets back to what you spoke about at the start, Jared, with, it feels yuck when you read some copy that doesn't work. Some people just aren't authentic in their writing. So you've still got to be you, and you've got to be real, because people do feel that and people do pick up on that. Yeah. So as much as the media has changed, copy itself and copywriting and the art of sales language has not changed over time. What you have to do is learn the principles and then adapt them to the different media.
Yeah, I agree. It comes down to the 7 habits of highly effective people, right? He always talks about principles over. I'm brain dead because I just worked out, but whatever that tactics.
And he published the 8th Habit as well, which is also a really good book. So
yeah, I've got the combined one.
Yeah.
Actually, here's one other thing, and probably write this down. You are always selling. Yeah. You are always selling, even when you're not asking for money. You are always selling. Whenever you're writing, you are always selling. It might be selling of an idea, selling excitement, selling connection, selling authenticity, whatever it is, but you are always selling. So never go into a written situation where you don't have really clear in your mind what you want to achieve with your writing, because you are always selling. Even when there's not a value exchange of money, you are still always selling. And so have that really clear at the start.
Yeah, that's amazing advice. And people have, some people have a bad image image of sales in their brain, but if you can't sell, then you're not going to get a job. You're not even going to be able to get a partner, because you have to sell yourself before you can. You got to, you got to have those sales skills. So yeah. I guess what other things can you share with us, mate? Do you have when you're writing, do you have a good headline tip or something like that? Or
yeah, I got hundreds. I could talk on this for hours. I guess here's the thing with headlines. Have you seen the movie Jerry Maguire? Do you remember that one? Tom Cruise, Renee Zellweger. Remember, I think it was about 2/3 of the way through, after Jerry and whatever Renee Zellweger's character was, that they'd split up, and Renee Zellweger was with her sister and their girlfriends in the lounge room, and they're sitting around this circle bitching about men and how awful men are, if you remember that scene. And all of a sudden Tom Cruise opens the door and they all stop and turn and look at him, and he says, "Hello." And they all look, and he goes, "I'm here to see my wife." And then the scene cuts to Renee and Jerry talking together, and he starts saying, "You complete me in that beautiful scene. I was so emotional," all that stuff. But she says, "You had me at hello." Classic movie line, "You had me at hello." And that's the key thing with headlines. You've got to get them at hello. If you don't get them at hello at the start and hook them in to read, it's over. It's no reading, no sale, it's over. So you've got to get them at hello. Don't get them at hello, it really is over. So I think too, when you're writing headlines, you've really got to put some time into it. It doesn't necessarily just come to you like that. I mean, I'll write out, if I'm doing a longer promotional piece, I'll write out 15, 20, 100 headlines to just get the right one, or narrow it down to the right 3 or 4 to give to the client. I'm not saying you necessarily have to do that with every single Facebook post you do, but I still put a lot of time and effort in thinking, because you've only got a few seconds to capture people's attention, especially today. We're swiping, we're busy, we're getting distractions everywhere, phones ringing, so you've really got to put some time and effort into those headlines. Just to give you one example, a really good one to do is how to do X without Y, as in, how to lose 50 kilos in a week without dieting or exercise, something like that, or how to make $1 million in a month without any risk, or whatever it might be. Now, I'm just making those two up, but the key word in that one is without, Because here's the thing, this is what I was getting at early on with human nature and how human nature doesn't change. I mean, and you might want to write this down too. Everyone wants quick, fast, and easy. Everyone wants quick, fast, and easy. No one wants long, slow, and hard. Everyone wants quick, fast, and easy. No one wants long, slow, and hard. So that word without is key, because it taps into that, I guess, that human sloth in all of us. You know, let's face it, we're passionate about what we do. We love our work, but oh God, sometimes it'd just be great just to lay around, wouldn't it? We've all got that. There's in some of us, there is all that little box where you just want to go, oh, I just couldn't be bothered today. You know, so that how to get X without Y, that keyword without really taps into the slothfulness in human beings. So that's a really cool one to test. Another one could be 10 tips to whatever it might be. You know, when you go shopping, before you go shopping, what do you do?
Yeah, you write a list.
You write a list. Lists are part of our human nature. Whenever we see a list, it's kind of ingrained in us that we have to read to the end. That's just what we do. You know, we're ticking things off on our shopping list. Our mind just ticks. Our mind is, one, compelled to read a list, and two, compelled to tick it off. So, you know, something like 7 tips, 5 tips, 10 tips, how to, etc., is a really good one to get people to read. So there's 2 templates for you. Put some thinking into how
You there, Colin? Yeah. I think Steve froze. I don't think we're frozen.
No, I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, that's cool. I just hoping it wasn't me. Getting back.
Well, what I can do is I can jump on to giving some hints and tips about what Steve was talking about then on some of the headlines for Facebook, if you like, while we wait for him to come back.
Well, I'll just touch on the what he was saying about the tips thing, and it just sprang to my mind when he said it. I can't remember the last time I've picked up a magazine and on the front of it, like a Men's Health or even, like, it doesn't matter, it says 7 tips to get abs or something.
Right. Yeah, it's very quick
so
tips. Yeah, the 7 shortcuts or the 7 secrets. Absolutely, it works.
Yeah.
So that was obviously such a key point that internet froze. All right. So that's
into it.
Yeah, that was such a key point. So put a lot of time and effort into it, because remember, it is really critical. You've only got a few seconds to capture people. And look, you will. Here's what I also tell people: understand you will make mistakes. You will have failures, things that don't go as well. I mean, with all of the copy I've written and all the promotions I've done, sometimes I don't get it right. And if any copywriter tells you that they get it right, you know, most of the time I'm really good. Don't believe them. That's bullshit. You know, no one gets it right 100% of the time. You know, you can do everything right, and for whatever reason, this time it doesn't work, whereas the previous time it did, and then the next time it might as well. So don't be perturbed by failure, I guess. You know, well, that headline should have worked. Well, yeah, but sometimes it just doesn't. So understand the dynamic of that, I guess, the dynamic of marketing even.
Yeah, cool. Well, I guess speaking of failures, do you see any perceived failures, I guess, lessons? Yep. Do you see any big errors that people are making or any in the marketplace right now?
Yeah. Probably, actually, write this one down. Confused people do nothing. Confused people do nothing. So I do see, and this is a lot of beginning people, they don't make their offer and their call to action really clear. You know, so if you want someone to write something, press a button. You've got to tell them once, twice, 3 times in really clear terms. I can always tell when there's someone who's new to selling with words, that they skip over that or they miss that, and they think, well, why didn't they respond? It was clear. It's clear to you, but it's not clear to the reader. So that is a key one. You know, remember, confused people do nothing. So you've got to make it crystal clear. And that's actually, here's another quick tip. I always start with the call to action. That's the first thing I write in anything I do. The offer and the call to action is what I write. And one of the reasons for that is if you write it last, I mean, this is one of the most crucial things, right? You've got to give them something to, you've got to be clear about what you want them to do. And so you've got to be good and you've got to be on point when you're writing that. So I start there because I'm fresh and, you know, my mind's sharp and so forth. I found out if I leave that to the end, if it's a long message, a long piece of copy, I'm kind of tired by the time I get there. And so that crucial piece of what I do often gets, there is a possibility of it getting not the attention it deserves. Because you can do everything like great headline, great copy, get to the offer. If it isn't on point because you're too tired, then again it's over. So I actually write that first in most of the copy that I write. Then I go back and do the headline, then write the rest of the copy. And that's one of the things too is, I don't write copy, I assemble it. I write chunks and then assemble it. It's not like once upon a time there was a the end, click below kind of thing. It's not like that. It's very much an assembly of the different parts that I write. Probably another one is that I do see a lot of overwriting, and it's almost like if you get someone and you're in a conversation with someone who doesn't really know what they're talking about, they'll tend to talk a lot, like to try and cover up their their own insecurities. And it's a little bit like that as well in copy for inexperienced people. They actually tend to overwrite things. And sometimes it can be a much quicker, simpler, sharper message that gets read and gets acted upon as opposed to a really long one. So just be careful about overwriting. Too many words. The other big thing is big chunks of text. No one likes reading that. Okay, so don't have big chunks of text. The speed of the read is really important. Okay, you've got to have your message read quickly, especially today. Colin will talk a little bit about it, I guess, when we wheel the geeky computer guy out from under the stairs about Facebook and whether long posts are better than short posts. But whatever it is, it has to be read quickly. Okay, so you need the speed of the read. So they're probably two big things. Confuse people, do nothing. Another phrase I've got that I really like is people don't like walking into a dark room. So you've got to turn the light on for them. So if you say private message me or click on the link, you've then got to tell them what happens next. Turn the light on for them. That way it's easier and safer for them to take the next step. So be really careful about asking them to do something that they might be unsure of. So turn the light on for them all the time, because we just won't walk into a dark room. Confused people do nothing. People won't walk into a dark room. Yeah,
I like that. That's I like confused people do nothing.
Yeah.
It's so relevant to everything, not just
that. Yeah.
Cool. So I guess on the other side of the coin, and you just kind of slip some tips in there, but what about actual writing tips?
Yeah. Okay. Yep. All right. So key thing is always write as if you are talking to one person. So it's always you, your, not about me, my, they. It's always you and yours, one-to-one communication. Because remember, at any one time, only one person is reading it. Okay, so it's always one-to-one communication. The other thing too is write like your market speaks. So that means that it is very conversational. It's not formal and stuffy. It's like your market speaks. And that means you'll have some shorter sentences, maybe even some one-word sentences, and you'll have some longer sentences. So it's got to be like a conversation that flows. And the more you can get in that conversational style, and it won't be grammatically correct. In fact, if you were marking it as an English piece, you'd probably fail, or at least get a C. But we aren't here for English. We're here to sell something.
Yeah.
So you've got to write in that conversational style. So grammar is not so important, and things like past participle and all those English rules. I don't even know what that is, but all those English rules that were drummed into us at school. Does anyone know what that is? No one knows what that is. Come on. All of those things that were drummed into us at school, you don't need that stuff. Okay, that's what I'm saying. Chuck it out. All right. Now, don't deliberately be sloppy so that it looks like you're illiterate. Okay, but don't think that it has to be perfect English. It has to be conversational. So that's the other key thing. I mentioned it before, is the speed of the read. The speed of the read is really important. We want them to start at the very top and get to the end what we want them to do really, really quickly. It's that old grease slide or grease slippery slide principle that copywriters talk about. One of the ways of doing that is shorter words and shorter sentences and smaller paragraphs. Okay, so it reads really quick and it's easy to get into. The average reading age of the Australian population is that of a Year 8 student. A lot of people go, oh, gee, my market's more sophisticated than that. Well, no, they're not, unless you're selling to doctors, or highfalutin lawyers, etc. But the average person in the street reads at that Year 8, Year 9 level. So you want to pitch it at that. And that's a really important one to remember. This is not an academic paper. We're writing to sell. So that speed of the read is really, really vital. And here's one tip to help you do that. Now, before I hit publish on any piece of copy that I write, I actually get there with my what I printed out, okay, because I'm sort of kinesthetic like that. I print it out, I stand in front of my computer or just out the back or whatever, highlighter in hand, and I read out loud my copy. And what you'll find, because when you read it to yourself in your brain silently, your brain often misses stuff because you know what you want to say, but often the way it comes out isn't the way it actually should come out. So when you read it out loud, it changes the dynamic so that you'll actually hear when you stumble. So I've got a pen or a highlighter in hand, I'm reading it out, and when I actually when I pause in my reading, I make a circle or a mark, and then I go on. And so when I come back, I then know I've got to fix that part up. Right, it's a really important point. So read out loud before you hit publish. You'll pick up a whole lot of other mistakes that you didn't otherwise see.
Yeah, I like that. That's good. That's good. It's so funny because sometimes when I just want to ask a question on social media in a tick, but when you write a post and you post it and then you look at it the next day and you like, oh dear, didn't make sense, it's just out of way. Every time. So that's good when you do that. Social media, it's so big. I think everyone on this call uses it. I'm 100% sure. Tell us how to make or social media ads more effective, in particular, I guess, Facebook, but Instagram as well is huge.
Yep. So my answer to that is really short, and then we'll wheel out the geeky computer guy from under the stairs. If we can interrupt his coding, she's probably there away coding in the background. So my answer to that is learn the principles of copy and apply them to every media. Okay, you get the principles right. So a good headline in Insta is the same as a good headline in a newspaper, is the same as a good headline in an email subject line, is the same as a good headline in Facebook. So learn those principles and get them right and apply them to every media. But it is a little bit more nuanced than just that. So, Kyle, I might throw to you here because you're an absolute genius at this sort of stuff. So how to make Facebook ads more effective?
Okay, thanks, Steve. It's a great question. Especially with all the latest changes that Facebook are continuing to make. So just before I go into it, in January this year, Mark Zuckerberg, they basically announced on the Facebook network that they were wanting to make it more intuitive when you're seeing information from friends and family. So less of being able to copy and paste messages. So you can't just copy and paste a template now, paste it in and say comment below if you want more information on, say, the business or the opportunity. So about 6 weeks ago, Facebook completely swapped and changed it around. So what they want you to now do is, like what Steve was saying, when you're writing and you're formulating your headline and your copy, you're speaking to one person at one time. And what I mean by this is that, so when we create an advertising campaign, we create like a profile, an avatar around the person. So you might want to write this down. So you create an avatar for a female and an avatar for a male. And you go into detail about their age, their educational background, their likes, dislikes, even their sports. Then what you can then do is you have that written up, say, in a Word document or written down on paper. And then you create your headline, like what Steve was saying, and you've got your offer there. And then you're able to then go hyper-targeted with your audience on Facebook. So you go into your audiences area. And there's a rule of thumb that we're using at the moment. You've got a normal post where you can just post on your Facebook page and that doesn't cost anything. You've got a boosted post, and then you've got your ad manager. So I'm not sure, Jared, how many of you are using your ad manager. I'm guessing a lot of people we find are probably using just your post and boosted posts.
Yeah, if that, I would have thought.
Okay.
If the boost, obviously, everyone posts.
So with all the changes that Facebook have made, what you're going to need to do is that you're going to need to do a boosted post and the ad manager. And some of this stuff we cover in some of our more advanced training, but I'm going to run through some hints and tips now that you can use that we use. So when you post on your normal post, you can do short and long posts. like what Steve was talking about.
Sorry, Cole, we've just had a question from Anari. Sorry to interrupt you there. He said, can you repeat that one more time?
Yeah, sure. In regards to...
In an American accent too, please. Sorry.
A pommy, an Australian pommy trying to...
a really bad Australian pommy accent, yeah. No wonder he can't understand you, because, you're confused, so...
I'll speak slower. So if you look at the Facebook platform, you've got a post where you just normally post it. You've got your boosted post where you can boost it underneath, and then you've got your ad manager. So your ad manager is where you can create like more defined ads with videos and images, etc. So your normal post, you write a nice headline, go through the copy tips that Steve was talking about. But what they are saying now, Facebook, is that you can't write at the bottom of it that you want them to comment. Comment below to get X, because they're seeing that as something called link and comment baiting. And what will happen is that your reach of that ad or post won't get seen by people. So if you want it seen by people, you then have to do a boosted post or use the ad manager. The way that they've solved this is that people don't want to see lots of stuff from publishers. They don't want to see like a lot of buy me stuff. In other words, if you want it seen, you just have to get people to pay. Yeah. What you can do though is that you can deliver, share a story like your journey or someone else's journey, and then you can encourage them in the copy without actually saying it to maybe private message you. So Facebook works on something called signals, and you might want to write this down. And what a signal is that Facebook are looking for quality. So quality of a post. So it's a clear, defined post that is getting read. And so if you're using Steve's copy tips, people will see that. And also it's targeted. So when you pick your audience, so let's say, for example, you might be wanting to target someone who's 40, into fitness. They do, say, CrossFit, etc. That might be your target audience. They're already doing, they might be having protein balls, etc. When you then write your ad, it's written to that person. But then when you do a boosted post, you target that person as well. Now, we always do two separate ads. One for female, one for male. Never the same. All right, so if you write that down, one for female, one for male. Never mix them.
Cole, can I just interject there? Because I just wrote something down when you started talking. It was remiss of me not to mention it because it's a huge point about knowing your market. Another mistake I see people make, one of the first things I ask, it's not what's your product, what do you do? It's like, who's your market? That's one of the first things I ask. And when people go, well, everyone really, I just sort of go, oh God, here we go. You are not selling to everyone. Please be really, really clear about it. You have to be crystal clear about who you are targeting, because the words that you use for me as a dad of 4 who's, in middle age are very, very different to a man who's 25 and got no kids, which is very different to a mum just about to have her second baby, et cetera, et cetera. So you've got to know, you've got to know exactly and intimately who it is that you are targeting. Because if you don't, then it just becomes that wishy-washy, insipid kind of sales message. And there'll be, because there are trigger words that different markets use. And if it's just everyone, those trigger words just don't resonate with them. So spend time knowing who it is that you're selling to. That is a key point. It ain't everyone. And if you think it's everyone, go away and think of a smaller group to sell to, because then you can talk to them about their specific problems and solving their specific problems.
Yeah, it's a good point, Steve.
Yeah, it's absolutely critical. If you get nothing else out of this call, it's that know who you are talking to. Who is your market? That's my first thing I ask. So who's the market? Not the product, not this, not that. Who's the market? Yeah. Sorry, Cole, for interrupting.
No, that's cool. One other thing on that is also know where they shop. So if your target audience is shopping at, say, Kmart or Walmart, just thought I'd throw that in there for the US. And what type of advertising are they seeing? You know, what type of wording is Kmart or Walmart or whatever using, or are they shopping at Myers? So understanding who your market is and where else they shop, so you can match some of the sales language. So that's probably the core tip number one would be really hyper target your audience, and then you can hyper target them on Facebook with their interests and wants and needs. Facebook are going to reward you, and the people reading it are going to have more interaction and likely to do something else with it. Hope that helps. All right, tip number 2. Facebook is all about quality, as I said, and relevance. So they have something called an ad relevance score. So if you're sending someone and you're talking about smoothies or protein balls or fitness, and they're landing on a page that has nothing to do with that, Facebook are going to slap you for it. So they're either going to charge you more money, or people aren't going to get to see it. So wherever you're sending or asking people to do something, make sure the content that you're sending them to is relevant. So we've got some network marketing leaders that we're working with. They will send them to a comments box first in private message, and then they send them to, say, a webinar as an intro. We've got others that send them to a landing page to capture their details. Okay. Does that make sense, Jared?
Yeah, makes sense to me.
Any questions before I move on to the third one? No?
Well, the guys can just whack them in the chat, and then maybe we could ask them at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. I've only got a couple more which we go by. Tip number 3 is headline with split testing. Don't split test multiple things all at once with Facebook. Split test one thing at one time. And we always, and I think, Steve, you'd agree with this, if you're going to split test anything, it's always your headline. Yeah. So if you're creating an ad and you've created the headline, run it for a short period of time, and then basically what you then do is that you just change the headline. Do you want me to answer that now, Jared, on this, what split testing, while we're talking about it?
Yes, because I was just about to ask that.
Okay. What split testing is that you've got 2 versions of an ad. So we've just said about creating one for female, one for male. What you would then do is you would have those running for a while, and then you would do an alternative version of that ad and maybe change the headline. And then you run that at the same time and see which one is outperforming the other one.
Yeah. So for example, the text of the ad is exactly the same. And going back to our examples before, the headline of the first one might be how to do X without Y, then the text of the ad. And then you split test that against, 10 tips to do X. And then the exact same text, it's just the headline that is different. So it's an A/B version. And just when you're doing that, make sure you have the parameters as close to each other as possible. For example, if you run one ad at 8 p.m., for instance, on whatever night, don't then run the next one at 6 o'clock. And so it's got to be an apples to apples comparison when you're doing it, so that you know what's going to work.
Cool.
There's a whole lot of other stuff that you can go into with split testing, but I don't want to bore everyone tonight. And Steve will wheel me back under the stairs. The last tip I've got, which is probably the most relevant at the moment to do with Facebook, is when you're doing any ads, test the placement. So if you write this down, this is testing the placement. So we do some ads to desktops and some ads to mobiles only. Same ad, and you split test it. And then you can do a long version of it and a short version of it. So a good example is over the last 12 months, we've ran about 3,000 campaigns, which is over about 10,000 ads, to just give you some relevance on this. And some of those ads that wasn't performing on a desktop have been smashing it on a mobile device, and vice versa. So when you're doing any boosting of posts or ads, try split testing that between a mobile only and desktop only, and see what results you get.
Okay, that's cool. So if you press boost, you can actually choose between a laptop and a mobile.
Yeah, you've got a few. If you start to go into your ads manager or your power editor on Facebook, you've got a little bit more control over how those posts and that get boosted, which is really important. So just as a quick recap on that, share a story. The ad needs to be informational. Do a long version and a short version and test it. and then go hyper targeted and use Power Editor in Facebook to do promoting of your posts. Whatever you do, don't just copy and paste posts that are templated now, because Facebook are looking out for it and you'll get penalized for it.
Yeah, cool. Cool. Guys, is there any other quick questions for the guys while we got them?
Is it useful, by the way, guys? Has the information been good?
Yeah.
Useful?
Yeah, it's been amazing.
I hope so.
It's good to look at everything from a different angle, in particular. And some of this stuff is stuff I definitely haven't heard before. So
another key one there, Jared, is LinkedIn are going through exactly the same process, and so is Google, with making sure that the content is unique, it's story-based and informational and helpful, and they, and it's not just spammy, if that makes sense. So if you can take the writing tips that we have shared today and then apply those to your posts, whether it's on Facebook or Google or LinkedIn or any other network. And video is another one. If people are comfortable doing video is king at the moment. So as you probably know, Jared, you do quite a lot. So
yeah, I do a little bit. I just like getting in front of the camera.
Yeah, YouTube. Yeah.
Great stuff, guys. It's been amazing. So thank you so much. And you mentioned before, Steve, confused people do nothing. So with the guys, I know you've got a course and a special offer for us tonight. So you want to run us through that and make that crystal clear? Because if I do it,
yeah, sure. Can you go to the URL, Jared? Can you bring that up? wordstoprofit.com/Empire Squad.
I've just popped it in the chat window for everyone.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
Can you bring that up on the screen, Jared, just so I can talk to that? Is that share your screen? Is that possible?
Yep. Cool. So where's that?
Testing your computer skills here.
There
we go. Excellent. Okay, so basically the training is Words to Profit, it's called. As it says there in the headline, it's the 3-week crash course to cash that fast tracks your copywriting skills and impact, even if you hate writing or sucked at English at high school. So remember, you don't have to be good at English to be a good copywriter. Okay, so can you just scroll down? There's a little bit of intro there from me. Just keep going a little bit more, and a couple of testimonials. Keep going. Keep going. And just, okay, there we go. So if you can just stop there. Yeah. So the 3-week crash course to cash, as I said, you get the insider tips, the tactics, the thinking behind good sales copy. So we go even deeper than what we've shared with you tonight. You'll see examples why one piece works and another fails. And the key outcome that you get from that is confidence to know that what you're doing tips the scales in your favor. Now, we're not setting out to make you a world-class copywriter, but it's simply to make you more confident and better so that you can increase your conversions, because no sales, no business, as Jared said at the start. And as I've said there, for many in network marketing, not knowing the art of words itself is what really holds you back. So if you learn this skill, it can change things overnight. So here we go. In the 3 weeks, week 1 is the art of storytelling. Cole mentioned how important stories are. And I've written there, facts only tell, stories sell. We show you where to start. We'll show you a proven story template to follow. And that's sort of fill in the blank kind of thing, really, really easy. And then tips to get your story read, which pro copywriters really reveal. Now, week number 2 is how to get attention and wordsmith your way to the sale. So things that, I'll give you some more headline templates, some of the really critical thinking behind a headline and what triggers people to get their attention and triggers them to buy. We'll go through that. And then I'll give you 7 technical writing tips. Almost no one teaches that makes your copy read fast. I mentioned the speed of the read is important. Well, I'll give you 7 ways to smooth out your copy so that it does read really quickly. And then week 3 is secrets to using Facebook the right way to build your business. So I get the key out, I unlock it, wheel out the geeky computer guy who's got to stop coding for a while and actually teach you guys some stuff. So he goes through boosted posts, a boosted post and an ad, what's the difference and when to use each one of them, the importance of image selection. That's one thing people really don't pay enough attention to, in my opinion. And then he talks about the latest Facebook algorithm change. Now, this normally retails for $397, but special price for you guys, $197 for today. The training starts next Tuesday at 7 p.m. the 31st of July. That's Brisbane time, 7 p.m. next Tuesday, the 31st of July. You get $200 off because you're part of Jared's group. If you just scroll down a little bit more, Jared, just want to go through a couple of things. Just stop there. Okay, so how the training works, our run sheet each week is basically 30 minutes of direct teaching from Colin and I, so a little bit like what we've gone through, but more, I guess probably because this was a conversation, we're a little bit more structured with some of the things that we teach you, so that 30 minutes we dive down really deep into it. You'll get 15 minutes of Q&A, so you get to ask live questions and we'll answer those, or you can send in questions beforehand and we'll answer those. And the part that we find people really like is critiquing of your copy. So you can send in copy to us and we'll critique it live on screen. So I'll bring up in a Word doc, here's John's post. Let's go through and have a look at how we can improve that. And that's one of the things that people really love because it is interactive, it is hands-on. Just really quickly, I've got a 12-week training that $5,900 it retails at. My hourly rate is $350 an hour. I don't look at jobs that are anything less than about $15K. It's just not worth my time. However, for you guys, and Cole mentioned at the start, it is for us about spreading the love and helping as many people as we can. $200 off for today. If you can just scroll down a little bit more, please, Jared. I just want to show you a couple of bonuses we've got for you. Yeah, a little bit more. Okay, so here are 3 bonuses. Okay, so number 1 is the copywriting critique checklist. So there's basically 42 elements that go to make good copy, and you get that as a bonus that you can print out and put next to your computer. Number 2 is the how to get to know your market, the writing preparation guide. I share with you 2 ways to know them intimately, and as I said, that's a critical piece of the puzzle that many first-time writers miss. And the third one, this is close to my favorite, Jared, if you could just scroll down a little bit again, is the ideas generator, 101 Facebook templates. So there's 36 pages there of ideas, on motivation, how to write teasers, how to write curiosity, calls to action, etc., etc. So I reckon it's worth it just to get that little nugget there. You'll never stare at a blank screen ever again with that baby in your hands. As we said, $197. We are starting next Tuesday. So what you need to do is go to the website, obviously, click one of those orangey buttons. You'll be taken to the PayPal or the credit card payment page, and then you will get a welcome email and a thank you page as well. So, and then we start next Tuesday. Cole, anything to add that I may have missed with that?
No, I think probably just to recap on some of the existing groups that we've had go through the training so far. Yep. I think the live critiquing has been a major one. We do have a forum as well where questions can be asked. But the big one has been on how for the Facebook ads and getting them read and seen, and people week 1 doing the ads, I think, Steve, and then by week 3 starting to see the results. Because you're starting to make the changes through. So it's almost, it can be that quick for people. So.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I actually will show, you'll see it at week 1 when people send their stuff in. Then we come up in week 3 or week 2, you'll see the difference straight away if you implement what we teach you. And that's a really good, it's like a little bit like a weight loss thing. You see the before and after kind of thing. And obviously writing's a skill, so the more you do, the better you get. And we take you by the hand for 3 weeks and really try and boost your results and your confidence. Any questions?
Not from me. That sounds amazing, actually. I'm going to jump on that and do that after this call for sure.
Okay, so it's wordstoprofit.com/Empire Squad, and the URL's in the chat as well.
And I'll put that link in the group too, guys. And this video, so we can take some people and get them in. But if they're not in by next Tuesday, tough luck.
Yep.
Well, the whole idea of this is it's a moving target. There's a lot of things changing, and this is going to help a lot of people. Even I think just taking the training that we've done tonight, hopefully people have got a lot out of it. So
yeah, I'm sure the guys have, and I'm sure they wrote lots of notes, and they'll apply that immediately. And Ari just wrote some nice words for you guys if you want to have a read of those. But I really enjoyed tonight, guys. Thank you so much. It's such an important thing to be able to target your marketing and sales is everything to a business, and we're all in business. So it's such an important skills. And for $200, if I can make $400 off one, right, just from just from that, maybe that handbook or whatever it is, being the I guess the optimistic person I am, you never know who you're going to attract from that one little tweak into your business of multi-level marketing. That's why it's so exciting. So
yeah. Well, that's right. One really well-written ad could make you 10, 50, 100K, over 6 months.
Yeah.
Just takes that one to really nail,
Exactly.
Yeah. Jared, can I leave everyone with one more tip?
Yep.
Okay, so if anyone who is listening is really anally retentive, and that's probably everyone rather, come on, I know you're out there, come on, yes, hand up if you are, come on, I can tell. All right, so here's the big thing. Here's a really good writing tip that changes everything. When you write. When you edit. Now, understand that writing is generally a creative right-hand side of the brain thing. Editing is more analytical, left-hand side of the brain. If you get them mixed up, then you generally don't have a good result, because you're trying to use two different parts of the brain at once. It's like the wires cross, smoke coming out of your ears kind of thing. The problem is that those anally retentive people, none of which are on this call, get really perturbed by the little lines on their Word doc, when there's a mistake and things like that. So they're typing away, then they go, oh look, there's a mistake there, I better go back and fix it up. Oh look, there's a mistake, and so they get nowhere really quickly. Now I know no one listening is like that, but that's a really clear tip. Just get it all out and then go back and edit, because they activate two different parts of the brain whenever you're writing. Okay, and that's really critical to making sure there is flow and it works really well. Now I know there are no anally retentive people here, so it's probably a pointless tip, but yeah, there you go.
Cool. Awesome. So guys, yeah, we're keen to get on that. So let's get registered for that and learn some stuff. So once again, starts next Tuesday night at 7
p.m. Brisbane time. Yep.
Cool. So that might be the thing. That's end of month for us. So that might be the one course you might learn something, do an ad, and that might get you home. So definitely worth your time, guys. So let's get fired up for that. I'm pumped up, and thank you so much, I guess, guys, for taking the time out to train us and give us all that gold for writing stuff. So thank you so much. I know the team got a lot out of it. I know the people who are going to watch this recording got a lot out of it as well. So once again, thank you for everything.
Thanks, guys. Really enjoyed it. It's time to wheel the computer guy back underneath its stairs so we can get away to a bit more coding. So thanks, Cole, for joining us. Lend in your expertise. Had fun. Good luck with everything, guys, and I hope to see you next week.
Awesome, guys. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
All righty. See ya.
Yeah.